Hello and good morning, and welcome to JA's virtual speaker series. My name is Claire Aguilera, and my guest today is Joe Scondotto. And Joe is Vice President, External Affairs Market Manager with Comerica. Joe, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here, Claire.
Wonderful. Could you begin by just letting us know what you did coming out of high school?
Okay, coming out of high school, I started, originally I wasn't a business major. I started out as an engineering major. And my career counselor said, hey, Joe, you should go to engineering school, be an engineering major. So I started attending Polytechnic Institute, and I had a partial scholarship to go there. And I did well with my math classes, my English classes, but I want to pivot over and transfer over into business school. And that's what I did. So my second year in college, I enrolled at Pace University in Lower Manhattan and as a finance major. And then I continued on and got my bachelor's degree in finance from there. So where I started and where I finished were two different places, but I realized that, just wasn't for me. And I looked at what was required, and I just didn't really have any way to balance that with the study requirements of being an engineering major.
So how did you get into banking?
Well, so what I did was I was very fortunate to work and go to school in New York City. So I had internships. So I had a couple of internships my sophomore and junior year of business school. I actually interned at a brokerage firm called Payne Webber. We worked in some different roles, summer internships. And then as I was going into my senior year, I wanted to pivot over into a different type of role. So I was able to, I had an internship at Citigroup. So I was able to land a job interning at their headquarters, which was on Manhattan on 53rd Street and Park Avenue. I was very fortunate that my father had a lot of good connections in human resources, and it made it very easy to get, these types of positions. But he made the connection. I still had to go in there and interview, get the job, and do a great job. But those connections were very, very important. And
Excellent. So can you explain what you do now and what that position entails?
Sure. So what I do is, as external affairs market manager, I have a two-part role. One of the things I do is oversee the Comerica Bank's philanthropic efforts in the state of Florida. What we'll do is we'll partner with organizations and figure out who we want to work with. And we're going to focus primarily on organizations in my role that are dealing with individuals and families in what we call LMI, or low to moderate income areas. So that's very much my focus. When we're doing something, we want to make sure that we're serving those communities. Everybody in the community has banking needs. Not everybody has the same advantages. So a lot, just like Junior Achievement is going out there and educating children, trying to bring them in, let them know everything that's out there available, and making sure that when we're giving out money or we're dedicating our time or resources, that some of it is going to helping those individuals. So the other portion of my job is really kind of overseeing volunteering efforts, encouraging everybody to go out and volunteer, get involved in the community, or give back, as we like to say, to connect with youth and let them know, hey, there's a lot of great careers out there, helping educate them, helping them find their path. Because there's a lot of different paths out there, and letting people know that, banking and what I do is one path, but I took a lot of different roles within banking before I wound up in this role. One of the things that helped me get this job was things I had done on a volunteer basis all along that I really never even realized that I would dedicate my career. I always liked volunteering. I enjoyed interacting with the community. It was nice to be able to transition my career inside banking into a role where that's all I'm dealing with now. And I always have a soft spot for the nonprofit community. That sense of giving back to the community, despite of everything else that's going on in your life, was always very, very important to me. You can go this way, you go that way, but it's nice and important to share what you've gone through and what you did to get there. But I think going out there and volunteering and doing things and giving back, the earlier you could start to do that. And I'll tell you, as you're building your life story and your resume, when people see those things, it shows that you're a well-rounded person, and that you're not just concerned with making money, but you're concerned with other things too. And hearing different stories, and when someone's going to look at something, hey, you know what? I hear what he's saying. That's a good idea. Or maybe pivot someplace. So realizing, hey, you could start out in one major, and it might not be for you, and it's okay to switch. Having the courage to make a decision, realize, invest in yourself, and also that if something doesn't work out, it's okay. Just because you're maybe good at something at the high school level, the college level, it might not be something. You might not have the same energies.
Right.
And,
So
and that's what I did.
if we have high school students listening to this who want a career in a financial institution, whether it's what you've done in the past or it's a position you're in now, what classes or what would they think about that they would have to take or participate in to be able to be in a position as like yours?
We have a lot of other banks, like mid-sized banks that are out there. So that's one of the things. If you could get, like, even going into college, any sort of internship at a financial services company or a brokerage firm, talk to people in your family who may work in one of those companies. Maybe somebody in your family or in your circle works for a bank or a brokerage, and ask, because they will pop up. Once you're out of high school, you can get a job as a bank part-time as a teller. If you wanted to enter, if you said, what would be the quickest way to get in there? And that's what a lot of people do when they're entering the banking industry. Many people, especially on the retail side, their first job is going to be as a teller, and maybe it'll be part-time. And you know what skills would you need to do that? Well, your people skills would be very, very important. Any type of retail experience maybe you had before that, and a lot of folks, good interpersonal skills is going to be important. Your ability to interact with people, to ask questions, to kind of follow processes as you're doing things. If you're going to deal with money and deal with the public, you're going to have to be able to really interact with people, but also keep an eye on what you're doing. As many jobs, but there's still a need for this. There's still a lot of people that like to come to the bank. So there's still going to be a need for jobs like that. And once you get a job like that as a first step, your next step may be to go work on the platform to be more of a relationship banker, where you're opening accounts and talking to people about loans and deposits, taking that maybe career. Next step, you might want to be a financial planner. You might want to go and get your brokerage license, stocks, bonds. Or you may like the analyst side better. Say, I don't really like working with sales, but I like working with numbers. Once you get into one field, there's all sorts of other fields inside of banking, depending on what you like to do. Do you like to interact with the public? Are you more of a technical person? Are you more of a creative person? We're also hiring a lot of people that are good at marketing, figuring out how to connect with people right now. Like, how do you connect with young people? Well, you know what? We need a younger generation of folks to show us how to connect with them. How do they like the bank? Well, better keep looking at different ways to connect with people and interact with people. And yes, we have our older customers, the moms and grandmothers, that are going to want to come in and sit down in the bank and have them help us out in a certain way. But then there's a young generation of folks that are going to be more interested in technology. They're going to be more interested in having space that looks really cool and interactive. And, it's not going to be what it used to be. You got to, and we need young folks with ideas to help us figure out how to do all these things, so.
Yeah. And I love the idea that we're talking about, a student who maybe is still in high school and college, who is having a part-time job as a teller, but the career progression is there, and they can stay with a company such as Comerica and still have a career.
Absolutely. And the experience you get working in banking is valuable. You're getting a lot of valuable experience. So I've had people work for me go into all sorts of different careers, but along their path, you're developing some skills. I mean, I had someone who was working for me one time, and I'll never forget, he was on my teller line in a drive-through, and he says, "You know what, Joe? I think I want to go to law school." And I said, "You know what? All right, I want you to take a break right now, and you get off the computer, go online, and go apply," because you knew he wanted to do something more. So again, meeting with people, and because I knew he wasn't going to stay in banking, it wasn't for him, but he wanted to go to law school. That's what he really wanted to do. So me just encouraging to do that. Literally, I said, I was so pleased, because he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do. But while he was figuring out what he wanted to do, he worked in a bank with people that were very supportive of him, developed some, interpersonal skills that he was able to develop. Very pleased. One of the great things now with LinkedIn and Facebook, you can really track people's career paths, and
yes,
and cheer for them, and seeing him graduate from law school, and from that first conversation, like, what are you waiting for? I didn't say, oh, I thought it was so cool that he figured out he wanted to do that, because I didn't know what he was going to do, but I knew he had really high goals and aspirations for himself. And other people have pivoted into different careers too. Some people, but anyone who, I think, working in an environment that's supportive, that's encouraging people to, really go for the dream. Yeah, and he was finishing up college. A lot of people are going to do jobs like that were in college, but just encouraging, being in an environment that encourages you. And that's one of the things I always tried to do when I had people reporting to me, encouraging them to take the next step, to have, to make a change, to realize, hey, if something's not for you, that's fine, but let's develop some other skills while you're here, to make you better in that way. And that's what it's all about. So any job you have, look at it as a way of further developing the skills that you have. Your interpersonal skills, your connections. You're making good connections while you're out there. You're going to run into people that might know people. Hey, you know what? That's a really good idea, or you can encourage us. Hey, you know what? You want to do that? Wow, I know someone that can help you. This is someone you need to speak to. So any job where you deal with the public, you're going to learn about yourself, about working as part of a team. And also, it's going to look good, that you worked for a company, because, a lot goes with it. Not anybody can just come work for a bank. There's a whole process that you got to go through.
Right.
Yeah,
and this is important. Yep, this is great information, Joe. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know our students will get a lot out of this, so I appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. Thanks for having me.